Could we be seeing the end of distribution to local game stores in the United States? It's a possibility. Welcome back to the channel, friends. My name is Gary the Card Father, and I own a trading card company business store in Columbus, Ohio. Here's my credentials to show you exactly what I mean. And I'm credible and I know what I'm talking about. But let's jump right into the topic today. As I said in my intro, could we be seeing the end of distribution in the United States between card shops and distributors and Pokemon? I mean, I'll give you some of my thoughts here in a second, but let me explain. This is interesting because, I mean, these recently just popped up here within the last like 5 months, 4 or 5 months. These are Pokemon vending machines. Yeah, Pokemon Center vending machines. And it's kind of interesting because they pop up pretty quickly. Like that, I didn't even see them get installed here in Ohio, here in Columbus particularly. They showed up out of nowhere, like almost overnight. But it's pretty interesting because they've been holding some the craziest products inside between 151, Surging Sparks, Fusion Strike, Lost Origins. Like it's had a lot of really cool product inside of it, and they're pretty interesting. So I did a little research, found out some information that here in Ohio, particularly in Ohio, there are 28 of these machines between Columbus and Cincinnati. While Cincinnati's about an hour and a half, hour 40 minutes south of me here, but in Columbus, 19 of those machines are centralized here in the central Ohio area, which is kind of crazy because that's about 75% of the machines in Ohio. But that takes me back to like, where are these things located? Well, generally they're located within Kroger's. And if you've never seen one of these things, they're pretty neat. They're pretty interesting. You actually tap in, you scroll up and down, and you find the product you want, select your product, and pay for it. They don't accept cash. They're only card only. So you have to have a card available or a tap device such as like Apple Pay, Google Pay, whatever, and that's it. And you pay for your product, you get an email, and it's done. You get your receipt. So there's no paper involved. Everything is wireless, paperless, and then they distribute your product. But they only distribute sealed product. There is no singles in this. There's no slabs in this, and they only distribute more modern stuff. So within like the last 3 to 4 years of the product that they have, which is kind of interesting because they are sending out modern release stuff. So like one of the biggest things that we saw in there was Surging Sparks. There's a lot. We saw some 151 at one time. We've seen the Pokeball tins. We've seen the actual collection tins. ETBs are a big thing in there, and they have booster boxes too. And which is crazy because you can go to that machine and buy Surging Sparks booster boxes, which are pushing $210 right now market value, and you can actually buy one of these for MSRP about $161, $164. And of course, there's tax involved, but that's pretty nuts for the simple fact that you can buy it right there in the machine, and they're selling it at MSRP, which means if you were a scalper, you could technically go in there and buy this at MSRP and resell it for $65 more on the open market and definitely make your money back from a booster box. So it's an interesting concept. I mean, they're all over the place. They're Pokemon Center branded. They're pretty cool because they have some interesting features like this big glowing red light, LED light that changes colors, that goes around in circle the machine. They're pretty large, but they're pretty cool. But this kind of brings me to my question that I asked inside of the intro is this the end of distribution? Like, are we seeing the end of distribution between local game stores and distributors in Pokemon? I mean, because like there's a couple of sports organizations, a couple of sports manufacturers doing this, like Topps, for example, Panini, Fanatics. They're all beginning to do this direct program thing where you are a local game store, and instead of ordering product from a distributor, you're ordering it directly from the manufacturer. So that direct system. But there's a lot of caveats with that. They dictate your hours and how many things you're allowed to do and how many people you're supposed to have in the building and that kind of thing. But then on top of it, you see a more direct system. And I think Pokemon in general, manufacturers in general, are starting to catch wind of this. They're starting to catch wind that why go to a distributor? Why distribute through a distributor? Because if you think about the logic and the math, if Pokemon takes let's just say a booster box costs them $20 to make, and they sell it to a distributor for $50, and the distributor sells it to me for $90, and then I sell it to you for $120, right? Everybody's making a little bit of money on that side, but what stops Pokemon from selling it directly to an LGS at 90, right? Or what stops Pokemon from selling it at full market value to consumers? Now, I get this. You're probably thinking, and I'm going to get this in the comments really quickly. Well, they already do that, right? They do that. Yeah, you're right. They do. They technically do with the Pokemon Center online. You can go right to the Pokemon Center store and you can order product just as you would normally from any LGS, LCS, or store online. They totally do that direct to consumer, and they make $164.99 for a booster box. Yeah, absolutely, they totally do that. But this is a little bit different. This is cutting out an LCS. This is cutting out LGS. This is cutting out distributors, and this is cutting out big box retailers in a lot of ways, where they're going directly to consumers in a more physical aspect. So it's kind of interesting because I see like the beginning inner workings here of a direct system between Pokemon and consumers, but I see a direct system here between Pokemon and LGSs, LCSs, which would be cool in a way, because that would give LCSs a little bit more security in the fact they're going direct. But I would wonder what kind of requirements there are, because if you think about WotC, for example, Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro, they require you to have a WPN. You have to be a Wizards Play network. Like, you have to be a store that has seating and play. In order to be a play Pokemon league, you have to have seating to do that, but it's not required to sell in the store. Like online resellers like myself moving into LGSs don't have to have that kind of setup. Like, we don't have to have a play store in order to sell Pokemon, but you do have to have it for WotC, Magic the Gathering, or Yu-Gi-Oh! With Konami, and then of course One Piece with Bandai. Lorcana's the same way with Ravensburger. So you have to have an area play space to play these things, to do these things, to hold tournaments and to hold championships and things in order to sell the product. Pokemon doesn't require that. But I could see a world where Pokemon's going direct to LCSs, LGSs. That would be pretty cool, but I would be concerned as to what requirements are there. Like, do they have to dictate store hours? Because that's what's happened a lot of times with the sports world. There's a lot of sports distributors that are being cut out that are no longer offering, they offer the product, but they're no longer in the middle of the offering product, because stores are going into what's known as direct. They're going direct from the manufacturer, like direct from Panini or direct from Topps. And that's an interesting concept, because those organizations, those companies, those manufacturers are requiring these stores to have specific hours. And to have specific times that they're selling things. And they're also limiting what boxes can be sold at, right? They're putting a minimum sell value. I think Loungefly, for example, does something similar to this, where you cannot sell their Loungefly backpacks for anything less than a specific dollar amount, regardless of what you get at wholesale. And you can't even run a sale on them. And that's an interesting concept. So maybe this is a way for Pokemon to kind of get rid of old inventory. Because I have been seeing like Fusion Strike in these machines. Lost Origins was in there. I think somebody said that they actually released some Evolving Skies in some of them at some point. But I know they had tins that had Evolving Skies in them, so that kind of made sense. But maybe this is just a way to get out of old backstock and bring it into the environment in which it can go directly to the consumer and not have to be held at a distributor for years, months, days, whatever. There's that possibility. So there's all kinds of things that could occur from this, which I'm not necessarily against the machines. I think they're pretty cool, and I think for advancing the hobby a little bit more, it's great. I think it's a good thing. It's just another selling channel for Pokemon, but I guess where I'm at is more so how does this going to affect local game stores, right? Is this what does this mean for the hobby shops who sell this product? Like, I know stores, including myself, who can't get any more Surging Sparks, right? I can't get any of it. I can't get any ATBs, bundles. I can't get any of the 3-pack blisters or the sleeve blisters. I can't get anything. And even if I could get it in, it would be ridiculously difficult, because it'd probably be a minimum amount, a very small amount, like be limited to booster boxes and maybe 10 ETBs. But at that point in time, like, even my relationship with my distributors is strong enough that it may not garner me any. I don't know how other online LCSs who are doing like hundreds of thousands of dollars a month are able to retrieve product. Maybe they get it better because they have a different distributor who offers it. But there's this. So what does it mean for the hobby? Like, what does it mean for the LCSs? Like, Is product going to become more widely available? Is product going to be something that's offered? I don't know. I don't think it. I think the way that this is working is more like, think about it about Target and Walmart scenario. Pokemon is basically opening. They're basically opening a retail shop. I mean, if you think about it, that's what they're doing. Adding a vending machine is the fastest, quickest, and cheapest method outside of opening a brick and mortar, or opening a big box retail store for Pokemon in specific, ways outside of having like pop up Pokemon centers. This is the pop up Pokemon center. Like, it's actually showing up. So I think in the direct, I mean, it's possible that product will be showing up in a little bit more quantities and a little bit more availability across the board at this point in time. But are we going to see like hotter sets only being restocked in these machines and not at local Game Stops or game shops or game stores, except for big box retailers? It's a possibility, especially if you're going direct to consumer in a physical sense versus an online sense. It's a possibility. Now, I will say the one thing here that I think is a major concern for a lot of people, and especially those who are collectors or just love the game in general, is that this is a scalper's paradise. Okay, I know people. I know people who are legitimately stalking the inventory restocking person. I know this for a fact. I've talked to several people who would technically scout product, and that's what they do. They have a date and time log. They know this person shows up. I kind of feel like they're casing the joint in a way, but this is like a scalper's paradise. These machines are scalper's paradise, and with 19 in Columbus, it's interesting. Now, I will tell you that the funny thing about that, and the reason I know this is because I had a phone call from a individual here in Columbus, who offered me 151 booster bundles. He said he had 25 of them. Obviously, he's looking to make as much money as he can because market on those things are pretty hot right now. They're very hard to find, and people love them. I think they're great for collection purposes. You probably could see just directly behind me, like right here, I have a small amount of my own inventory that's been saved as my personal collections back here. But they have these booster bundles, and he asked me if I would buy them. And I'm like, yes, absolutely, I'll buy them, but I'll buy them at my buy rate, right? Because that's what I do as a reseller, because I'm a dirty reseller. And he didn't want to make the deal, but he promised he could get more. He's like, oh, I have access to more. Not thinking that I didn't already know what he was doing, right? And so I had to call him out. And I'm like, I know what you're doing, man. I get it. That's understandable. I could do the same thing. I technically could drive around Columbus and go and pick these things up. I could drive to Cincinnati and pick these things up. I did see them in Texas. And by the way, there's a list on Pokemon's website that shows you all the states. I believe it's 19 states, if I'm not mistaken, 16 states. It's 16 states that these are offered in. And so when I was on a trip to Texas, I went to one and I saw one. That's where I first experienced it. So this is a scalper's dream. Like to receive. So if Pokemon starts restocking these machines with like Lost Origins or Evolving Skies, oh my goodness, people are going to riot when they get to these machines. So a couple of quick thoughts. Could this break the system from distribution to LGSs? I don't know. I think LGSs are required still. I think they're needed because the hobby in the game has to be progressed. So they still need play tournament spaces. They still need people to be able to step into those and actually play the game, because that's technically what this is a game. It's not just a collection. I mean, I think collecting was in mind when they designed it, but again, I think it's a definite attraction. It's an attractive outlet for scalping. I don't know if it's good for the hobby. I don't know yet. I mean, I think it gives more access to the product for people to buy, but it's still just as expensive if you were to buy it at Pokemon Center. Like your local LCS, LGS may even have it cheaper at times, right? So there's that aspect of the whole thing. But I think I'd be more concerned is if they're going to put in product on release day, right? That's where I think there's the major concerns. Because like think about Prismatic Evolutions, for example. Are they going to drop Prismatic Evolutions on release day in these machines and restock them? Because that would be an interesting thing, especially with a hot set like that. You're looking at chaos. You really are looking at chaos. So who knows? Who knows what these machines will do? Who knows if it's breaking the distribution chain between local game stores and Pokemon? The only distribution chain that's worked for so long. Who knows? But all in all, I think it could be a good thing for the hobby. I think it could be a detrimental thing to people who want product and can't get it because of scalping. But I do think that, more people who are interested in Pokemon just means there's more Pokemon for everybody. So, all right, with that, thank you for watching. Appreciate you. Like, comment, and subscribe down below. It helps the algorithm know that you like the stuff I'm telling and teaching and talking about. And as always, have a wonderful, wonderful day. And you can do all things through Christ who gives you strength. All right, till next time.